We are live in effect for the State of Sync podcast. I'm Nelson K. Johnson, and this is officially episode 1 with my man Chris Watt. All right, I'm about to add some effects on there. We can use that. I'll just sample that joint.
No doubt.
Yeah, we got off to a little rocky start. Well, I wouldn't call it rocky. It was more of what do you call it?
Technical
Yeah, technical
difficulties.
First episode things that come
Jitters.
along
We got to
with
work
that.
out the
Yeah, factual.
put some Bengay on the elbow.
Yeah, but it worked out. Like you said, we only have to do it one time. But
Yeah.
again, everybody, welcome to the State of Sync podcast. I am Nelson K. Johnson, and what we're doing here on the State of Sync podcast, we're going to talk about all things sync licensing and everything in between. We might talk about vegetables. We might talk about, in this case tonight, Chinese food, because hopefully I can get me some food to eat. But most of all, it's going to be sync. On the plan is to make everything informative so you guys can walk away with some hidden jewels. So without further ado, we are going to get into it. And today's topic for the very first episode is something that I really love to discuss when I'm talking about sync licensing, and that is making the connection between sync licensing and the stock market. And we're going to talk about how they are the same. So what I want to do is I want to firstly introduce my man Chris here. So I'm going to hand over to you really quick. Tell the people who you are, what you do, a little bit of background, and yeah, we're going to get this started.
Okay. What up, everybody? Thanks for watching the State of Sync podcast with Nelson K. Johnson. First, thanks for having me on the show, Chris Watt, House Studios, music composer, producer, engineer, sound designer. Just pretty much anything audio is what we do over here. And we hooked up with Nelson to take our career to the next level of doing sync music, more so than just music for art. And that's where we at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. So we've talked about this before. You know what I mean? There's been a couple of conversations had between the two of us where you heard me mention about, comparing the sync licensing to the stock market. And to start it off, I always say that because we all know the stock market. And do you invest in stocks at all, or not really, or something?
Yeah, I have some stocks out there.
So everybody knows that you take money, you purchase a stock, let's say Tesla, right? You take the money, you purchase a stock, Tesla. When Tesla makes money, you make money, right? Same thing with sync licensing, okay? Your beats, your music, full songs, what have you, that is your currency. That's your money, right? The TV shows, which are like the movies, the TV shows, all that stuff, the ads, commercials, those are your stocks. So think of it like, just had an epiphany. So think of it like VH1 is a stock, MTV is a stock, BET is a stock. All these networks, they are stocks, and our music is the currency. So sync licensing and how that relates is when you take your beat and you put that in your in that program or on that network, you're going to get a performance royalty that's going to generate, and that's what you get. That's your return. So just like a stock, if you invest music in a dead piece of programming, right, or a show that's not going anywhere or anything like that, then you won't really get a return if it's not generating a return. So our objective is to place music in programming that we know will generate a return in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it be in like an upfront sync fee, or it's something that's on the back end, or even if it's promotion. But the objective is to get your music into a place where it's going to generate a return. So that's how I'm looking at it.
I think it's also worth noting, really worth noting, that just like the stock market, your investment may not come back around for some time.
Oh, absolutely.
But the ones that you don't see coming are some of the best ones you can have, because it's like finding $100 bill on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my God, I found $100 bill on the ground. If you can look at it like that. So when you invest into things, just like the stock
I just
market.
had to look around
You
real quick. Might find a dollar.
might find some Chinese food. Uh,
Bro, I'm
you might
starving.
you might end up investing into a small company
Hmm.
like let's say Tesla,
Yep.
right? We'll use them. At one point in time, the owner and two or three of his partners was the only ones that believed in Tesla,
Hmm.
and they invested their money and time in it. So it's worth noting that you can invest in many different ways into your craft, into your music, into libraries, into potential, and into practice.
Mm.
So if you do look at it that way, invest and move on. Let the fruits of that grow on its own organically. Now you got to put some work into it,
Yep.
and if you have to put the work into it, it makes it that much more rewarding. But sometimes, just for those that are listening, especially the newbies, sometimes you got to wait, and that's just how it is. But
Hmm.
the more seeds you plant, the more stocks you buy. What is that? The penny stocks they used
Yep.
to have back in the day.
Oh yeah, right.
You can buy a whole bunch of penny stocks.
Yeah, and that's a
And
good that's a great example because a lot of times during my teachings and my strategy sessions and stuff like that, I always talk about mindset, and that's one thing that I point out. It's like some people honestly go into this thinking like, oh, I got my music on TV, and they're trying to get paid like next week. You know what I mean? It's like, no, man, you got a couple of months before that come, even if it comes at all. And what I mean by that is you might go into it and say, um, you might go into it and say like, yo, 1 sec, sorry. You might go into it and say, I'm expecting to make $1,000 when I get my next royalty check, right? And that royalty check might be $150. You know what I mean? So your whole mindset has to change. And in relation to what you said, is you have to make those small investments, because again, those are the investments that can pay off, whether it gives you more exposure, whether it's a little known TV show that gets picked up by a major network, and then that opens up opportunities like that. So I definitely agree and like how you like how you put that, because it's real, man. It's like really a mindset game, because nobody's going to do the research and find those hidden gems. And there's definitely, just like with stocks, there's hidden gems out there. It's that one little stock that's like, it's going up and down, just like like Bitcoin. Like at one point, everybody's like, what is Bitcoin? But the people who saw the future in Bitcoin, the people who saw that, they're seeing that. And that's the same thing with licensing. You have to definitely search around for those gems and those opportunities. So let me ask you, I gotta stop saying but let me ask you, Chris, what really attracts you to licensing? Like, what kind of got you to this point where you kind of like, what, I do want to actually license my music? Like, what made you think about that?
that started really early for me. And the major thing behind it was that I'm a gamer and I've always played my own music
Mm.
while I'm playing video games.
So you one
Like,
of the ones who not gonna have any what is it? It's I can say Stitch. You're not gonna have any of those problems where it's like, oh, you gotta take your music down or any of that, because it's like your music.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Um, but that started early for me. Well, after I got done working on the craft, so to speak, of
Mm.
writing and mixing, which is never done, you'll learn that soon enough when you get past, 1,000 different tracks or loops that you've made. And it led me to performing a lot. It led
Mm-hmm.
me to just being in front of the TV and saying, man, I would love to convey that type of emotion that you hear composers do for a scene. And sometimes the thing that elicits the most emotion from people is the music.
Yep.
So to be impactful, and it was just something that I saw a long time ago, and I said, I can do that. And I would
Nice.
like to do it because it also doesn't put you in a box
Mm-hmm.
to say you can only write one type of music, versus being an artist and people expect that one type of music from you
Right.
the whole
Yep.
time.
And then you switch up, and they're like, "Oh my God, what did he do?" And I'm
Yeah,
glad you said that, man, because I share the same sentiments. Like I really like that aspect of licensing. It just allows me to be super creative. You know what I mean? There was times, bro, where people were like, oh, you think your beats dope? You make like disco beats, blah blah blah. I'm like, man, and it had me feel a little salty because this is something that I would work hard on, and I'm like, oh man, homie said I make disco beats, but years later I think about it, and it's something that always stuck with me, because it's like I wasn't making disco beats. I was making all kind of beats. I was just making stuff that made me feel hype, stuff that made
in the moment.
It was just like dance tracks, It wasn't really like trap beats, or it was none of that stuff. It was just specifically stuff that I'm like, yo, I like this. So then that kind of led me off subject a little bit, kind of led me into really rapping on my own beats. You know what I mean? Because people really weren't feeling them. But to speak to what you're saying, it does allow you to be creative and not get in that box, because I know I can make an R&B beat. You know that you can make a trap beat, but you also know that you can convey a whole type of emotion for a scene that's going to hit somebody right here and be like, oh man, I really understand that love scene, or oh my goodness, I'm like so scared, which a scary movie is something I would love to do. Like, definitely would want to put one of my stocks or my money, my beat currency in a horror film for certain. I always wanted to do that. You ever thought about doing like a horror film or something?
Yeah, I got one under my belt already.
Oh, dope.
A short film. Yeah, that was a thriller / horror. A lot of fun to do.
I was gonna ask you, like, what was your approach? Like, what was you said it stressed you out?
No, it'll stretch you out. It'll stretch your mind frame, like your thinking, to score an entire film and convey different emotions. And directors and editors will let you know, like, if you're not hitting the mark. But if you can, if you can relate to what's going on, and make it recognizable, like with music theory, or technically being able to do it, and then add your own feel or spin your own flavor to it, it's wild, and it feels good, because it feels good when somebody else watches it and you're watching them because you've seen it a million times, right? Because you've been scoring to it for weeks. I've done that a couple of times, and then as I show, the film or whatever to somebody else, I get to watch their face the whole time, right? I'm looking like this. So when the sad part comes up, I'm looking for them to well up, and if they don't, I'm like ready to kick the TV over, like I didn't do my job. It's whack.
The reason why I'm holding back this laugh is because it's so funny, man. I know it's a meme out there somewhere, like when I don't even know how to explain it, but like when you do something, let's say, let's say you sprinkle some hot pepper in somebody's food, right? And you just watching, wait for them to eat it, and you waiting for them to react, fam, right? You just like, I want to see what they gonna do. Like, I want to see what they gonna do, Same thing, man. I'm telling you, like, my wife has to get tired of it, man, because I'm in here, working on stuff. She done seen and heard it before anybody else, and she knows what it sounds like. She's seen it a million times. I'm like, hey, come tell me how this sound. So when it finally hit the TV screen, I'm like, all right, it's on. And I'm up here like watching her like, it's on there. But she like, I know it's on there, but again, it's that thing though, because you want to be like, all right, it's really here. You want to watch them say like, okay, I get it, or I felt that, and that, it's a tremendous moment, man. Quick story, when I did one of my first speaking engagements, like last year, went to a studio and everything, and Monogamy, I was a part of the music team for Monogamy season 1 to season 2. That's that plaque right there, if y'all see it. Oh wait, that way, right there, bam. So I was speaking, and I'm talking about that. Man, this dude walked up to me. He was like, oh, yo, what's up, man? Nice to meet you. Yo, man, me and my wife love that show, bro. Like, I saw your name. No, not that he saw my name in the credits, but he's just like, to know and to remember, maybe like seeing a name and saying like, oh, this is the dude. Man, that was like one of the highlights of like my entire life, because I really never met anybody in person who was like, oh, yo, we watched that. oh, I always thought about the music behind it. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, I was taken aback, to be honest. And it was like definitely a humbling moment. But again, just to touch on that, bro, it's like really looking at people while the music is playing, and you're like, oh, that's how I know if I hit that mark or not. So have you ever came into a situation where you were told that you didn't hit the mark? And how did you react to that? Like, what did you do?
All the time.
Mm,
That's a common thing when you're working with independents,
mm,
as well as working with artists. If you don't hit the mark, you rework it.
mm,
The key to doing that for anybody that can get into that, well, you could speak on it too, right?
yeah.
Let's go back to stocks.
Mm,
If you have a smaller mom and pop company that's just getting set up, they're going to give you basically 50-50 input,
mm,
because they respect you as a professional to get something done that they would need that would move whatever you were working on forward, versus like Ford, Nissan, Xbox. They're just going to tell you what they want,
yeah.
right? So that's going to be your buy-in price.
Mm.
What's your buy-in at mom and pop, and
Mm,
your buy-in, that investment that you have to put in there. Sometimes it'll go down and you got to make some adjustments. Maybe you
mm,
got to put a couple more dollars in there
yeah.
and wait on that stock. Sometimes that stock goes up and then it drops before you're able to cash out or move along.
Yeah.
So those are like revisions. You have to be prepared. Uh, what's this guy's name? Works for this one place. He uses this thing. I've heard it before, called killing your darlings.
Mm.
You ever heard of killing your darlings?
I haven't.
So to kill your darlings is these precious little things that we spend this time creating, and we give them out to somebody hoping they'll feel like the same way we do, but they don't,
Oh, okay.
right? And they just murder your
Oh
hard
man.
work, your
Yeah.
mixes, your
Mm.
sound choices, and so forth. That's going to happen because people don't know what they want until they hear it.
Right. Absolutely.
People don't know what they don't want until they hear it.
Mm.
And then they can give you,
That.
opinions from there.
Yeah, and I like it, like again how it relates to stocks. It's like the same thing. You could find this company and it's doing really good. You could be like, yo, boom, you could throw your life savings in there. And I know people done that. They like throw thousands of dollars in that. Bitcoin, for example, man. My wife should tell you, man. It was at one point where I was like, Bitcoin, Litecoin, altcoin, bro. Well, not altcoin, but a lot of altcoins. But I had got Coinbase, whatever that was, bro, and I was on Coin
Mm-hmm.
Market Cap, just like, oh, it's going up, man. We about to get rich, bro. Man, I lost some money, and I got money stuck. It was this one called this one platform where they traded Bitcoin and all that stuff, but they got a cease and desist letter from Texas or some crap, and the company shut down, but my money was like stuck in there. Then I had my key, like the key to go in there to my account and all that stuff. Lost the key, money was stuck, done. So the point
Yo,
what's up?
to to speak on what you said to that scenario, one of the first conversations we had, I'll put it to you like this, same as the stock market. You want to research where you're going so you don't end up in a library that's just going on somebody else's hard drive
Yep.
and
Oh,
they're not doing anything.
taking it off your
I
hard
remember,
drive and putting it on their hard drive, and that
and that's
happens.
and then you don't have access
Mm.
to shopping it anywhere else because you signed a
Yep.
deal for it.
And like I said,
So
it's just crazy, man, because it's like that's happened to me. I spent time on this song. This was something that was recent. I actually just found it out today. So there was a particular show that I did like an opening song for, right? Worked on it, custom beat, everything, super dope. I was rapping on it, everything got pumped up. I actually saw the actual cut of this, mega trailer, right? Saw the actual cut, and I'm like, man, it's fantastic. Got a text that was like, oh yeah, they might scrap it, and I'm like, I ain't feel no kind of way about it. But again, I invested that currency, aka my time, my music, into this licensing opportunity, aka the stock, and it crashed. You know what I mean? So to me, I didn't feel anything about it, probably because I'm kind of used to the ups and downs. But it did kind of hit this little soft spot because I'm like, bro, it was so perfect. Like, how much perfect or how much more perfect can it get? Especially when they're like, oh, this is good. Oh, we like it. Oh, we want it. Oh, boom, here you go. Let's seal the deal. You know what I mean? And it's there, and you see it. To all of a sudden, now somebody's like, nah, we don't want it. That's just the unexpected nature of it, and just like
Yeah.
stocks, everything might be going good, might be going up to the last minute, and then it just plummets, and then now you're like, ah. But speaking on the mindset, if your mindset isn't right, and you're the kind of person, like you said, when somebody says, yo, you didn't hit the mark, you go back and you try to hit that mark. You know what I mean? So you can't be that person that's like, oh man, they said I can't do it. Knock everything off the desk. You feel me? Like, you can't be that kind of person. You guys have to have your mind right and be in that space that, you get knocked down, you're just gonna get back up. You know what I mean? You can't just sit there and let it defeat you, because this is a long journey. This is a long game, and it's not gonna happen overnight. Like, I've been at it since like 2010, 2010, where I just started beginning, so I had lots of disappointments. Music has been stolen, no credit for music. Stuff been on TV, they didn't turn the cue sheets, they won't answer me. Bro, I had the worst of the worst. Well, hopefully I had the worst of the worst, but I had some bad times, but you just get back up, and you keep investing until you invest in the big one, but like you said,
That's when you
those
find
penny
out
stocks,
how much you love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
true
when you
that,
find
true
out how
that.
much you love it. That
Hmm.
we do it because we love it. Ain't none of this stuff free.
Nah.
And if you love it, stick with it. That goes for anybody that watches this show. If you love it, stick with it. Have some patience and master your craft.
Yep, absolutely.
That's gonna be it. Then that'll make you sharp when you go into the
Hmm.
market,
Yeah, and
and you know where to invest your money at and where to stay away from.
that's the thing too. Like, speaking of sharpening your craft, that's really what Super Sync Squad is really all about. And we spoke on this too. You kind of, anytime I say this word grooming, I always feel like it's like it feels like demeaning at some point, but it's not. I know that it's not. That's just
It,
that's
it
my
used to
thinking.
be it
But
used to be a term that was looked up to
mm,
until it involved husbands and wives.
right, because you say like, oh, I'm grooming you to be great. They're like, you ain't
Like,
grooming me. But like, no, 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 no. What I mean is, so, but for y'all, just so y'all know, what we mean by that is just like Super Sync Squad is a place where you can sharpen your skill, and where ultimately iron is going to sharpen iron. As they say in the Bible, it's like you just really want to be around people, have a group of people. And I said, we talked about this too, man. It's like, yo, you want to be around those people who have those same types of feelings and those same types of goals that you have, because that's really going to make you stronger. And again, that's what Super Sync Squad is. It's really helping each other build something, and helping each other, get stronger, and helping each other really figure this whole thing out. And again, you have people on your side that's willing to show you the ropes. You know what I mean? Without having you beat around the bush. It's like, well, how do I find, how do I invest my music into libraries that won't just show my music? It's like, oh, you just gotta research. Nah, it's not gonna be that. It's not gonna be you just gotta research. It's gonna be like, this is how you research. You research in this type of fashion, because that's really going to, that's gonna help you. You do it in this kind of process, you'll be able to narrow the things down. So, yeah, man. So again, everybody, really quick, just to touch on our topic here. That's how, again, we talked about a couple of things, but sync licensing in the stock market, that's really how they relate. It's the investment. And that's the point that we were trying to drive here tonight. Investment of your time, investment of your patience, investment of, your ideas and everything. It's a sync licensing is an investment, and those returns are those quarterly royalty statements that you get. So I want everyone to really start considering that. Consider what we've talked about here today, where, and Chris, you mentioned like penny stocks, like people, they can't be afraid to kind of, I guess you want to say like start small, if you want to say that. I think every opportunity is a great opportunity, big or small. And with me saying that, let me ask you, what do you think about the small opportunities that are free? What do you think about free work? What do you think about that? Like, what are your thoughts on?
You need it.
Mm-hmm.
You need it.
Got you. Yep.
I mean, and I'll explain. You need free work because that'll prove your dedication to what you're doing.
Got you.
If I believe in what you're doing, I will invest my time into your project. I have 3 projects on the table that are free, but I really care about the people that are doing them. They're really dope people. They make great content, and they just came to me for music.
Dope.
And I said, as long as you give me credit, I know it's not just going to sit on somebody's hard drive.
Yep.
Even if it makes out to YouTube or like some of the film festivals and whatnot I've been involved in. It's been fun. And that's where I sharpen my sword at.
Yep.
And most people, if they're getting free music, they won't complain as long as it's quality.
Right. Yep.
So
that makes it a little easier too. You feel me? So it's like,
I mean, you can't ask for too many revisions. You're not paying me.
Like, okay, this is revision number 5. You're gonna have to throw a little something. But definitely, man, I definitely agree with that. And that's that investment, guys. That's that investment of your patience and your time. But as Chris mentioned, it's gonna show you like you really down for this, or maybe you aren't. You know what I mean? And not saying go out there and do everything for free, because you're going to pick and choose your battles, of course. However, before you get to this level where people are, like paying you for this, or you're getting paid for it, you're going to have to kind of like pay some dues. But I mean, you might get lucky in your first project. They might throw you some bread. Like, you just never know. But what we're trying to drive home here is that it's just that overall investment for certain.
And your music has to be of a certain quality. Be honest with yourself. Everybody's at a different place in their journey, right? Everybody's at a different place in their musical ability, production ability, and so forth. We know it's a microwave kind of society, but invest your time into it, and those returns will come back emotionally, financially, or any other way you can. Those are the main 2 that you will find more gratification and possibly, that winning lottery ticket from something that you didn't expect.
And that's
enjoy the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to conclude our episode 1. And off topic, you see where it says episode? Why do I keep feeling like that word look funny? It doesn't.
Thanks for joining us on the State of Sync podcast. We got my man Nelson Johnson, Super Sync Squad, representing for y'all for 2020. I am your co-host for today, Mr. Watt, Vision House Studios. You can check us out everywhere. Facebook, all the social medias, TikTok, and everything else in between. If you need anything licensing, anything music licensing, go look him up. Super Sync Squad is the spot, is the place to be. Invest your time. It will come back to you, and that'll be your retirement. All right. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
All right. Peace. Thank you. And you guys have a good night.